you first to the organizers for inviting me, to Louise in particular, but the whole crew. I wish to first say that I feel welcomed by the remarks of the previous speakers. I especially feel welcomed by Talia's comments, in particular about the future, because this is about creating the future that we want. I really feel welcomed by her points about girls, about women, about education. As an economist and environmental physicist, I'm especially touched by the fact that you integrated the environment in social innovation and the SDGs, which Carl will also like, and others. Imre, I want to thank you for your comments on the absolute need for the involvement of the private sector. I mean, social innovation is not conceivable without the private sector. And you also made a point which I translate in my words, which is that we're not talking about a divestment of the public sector. We're talking about social innovation reaching out where the public sector is unable to get to and solve problems. I'm very grateful for Jeff's comments on the shifts that we're experiencing, because this is truly a time of change. I even am, surprisingly maybe to some of you, very moved that we had to do this breathing exercise, because I practice mindfulness and Aikido since the 80s, and this is part of who I am. And who I am is the person talking to you now about social innovation. Why do I say that we hold a great opportunity? Because there's a great need, and at the same time, as somebody who's both an entrepreneur, an activist, and a civil servant, I see that there is a true window of opportunity. In Europe, which is a very wealthy bloc of countries, still, in that wealthy bloc of countries, 1 out of 4 Europeans are at risk of social exclusion and poverty. This is huge. I think that this is one of many pieces of data and information that led to putting the social pillar, the European social pillar, giving it prominence, in particular through the Göteborg Declaration signed by President Juncker last year. But this document is not a piece of regulation. It is only a political statement. The good news is that on 2nd of May, the draft of the multi-annual program for the European Union was published. For those of you who may not know, basically, the Union has a budget. It's about 1.1% of the EU GDP. And what it does, it plans the budget and has a cycle, roughly 7 years, and decides on how it's going to spend this money. And as far as social innovation is concerned, we are potentially, I say potentially, and that's where you have a really big role to play. We potentially have a great opportunity. Indeed, in the framework of the proposal, right now it's only a proposal that has to be discussed with the member states, that has to be discussed with the European Parliament, that will receive comments from the people of the Union. In this proposal, there is something called the Invest EU Fund. And in this fund, there are 4 windows. One of them is about climate and sustainable infrastructures, one about SMEs, one about research and innovation, I should know, and one is about social skills and capacity building. And under that heading, 4 billion euros, yes, 4 followed by 9 zeros, have been assigned for guarantees. And why is that important and interesting? And why is it much more than it looks like, although it's already a very large number? Basically, with those 4 billion euros of guarantees, we can create instruments like loan instruments, equity instruments, and other facilities to leverage on the order of 40 billion euros. But the big risk right now is for us who have actually, from within the European Commission, fought for social innovation, said we need it, we really need those instruments. And while we do it with our heart, we engage in very technical discussions of finance. Our risk is that you don't use the money. That is really the risk that we're running now. And so my message to you is we have a great opportunity. It is, I would say, a year ago, I would not have imagined that this would be a possibility, but it has become real. I don't see either the member states or the parliament questioning this allocation of money for the social window, but you need to take it up. You need to put all your inventiveness and creativity into making it something of a success and bearing fruits. Thank you very much.